Well, what this one means is something that we call the power of one. And this is on the topic of benchmarking. So the power of one is about looking at a business's performance and then seeing what particular measures can be tweaked. Sometimes we talk about it as the 1%ers. What difference will 1% or a measure of one make to the performance of a business? And it's going to be different in different businesses as to which of those measures is going to have the greatest impact. But with this particular tool, we can take the existing performance numbers of a business and then plan out the next quarter or the next year. And this actually helps to give us some focus on the particular things to look at. So an example is, you might know what I mean when I talk about debtor days or creditor days. But very, very basically that means, on average, how long does it take your customers to pay you, or how long does it take for you to pay your suppliers? That sort of thing doesn't impact profit because it doesn't mean more income or more expenses, but it does impact cash flow, the timing of how long those things take. So I'll just kneel down here if that's okay, so everyone can see. In this particular tool, we can do some modelling of what some of those changes look like. So here's a business that whose performance numbers we have in here, and this is a fictional business, so I'm not reporting on the real Rebecca's Coffee, if there is one. And in this business, for the period that we're looking at, they've made a profit, so that terminology there, EBIT, read that as profit. They've made a profit of $701,000, but their cash flow is actually negative. And quite often we'll have business owners saying, well, you're telling me that I've made a profit and I've got to pay some tax, but I don't have money in the bank. Where's it gone? This tool can help us work out where it's gone, but also can help us plan how to solve that negative cash flow situation. But it seems counterintuitive to think that there's a $700,000 profit and $200,000 negative cash flow. And probably in this case, if this business was going to grow, the business owner would actually be reaching into their pocket to fund that growth because the business is not self-sustaining. The more sales that it makes, the more backwards it's going to go in cash flow, which is a scary situation to be in. So through this power of one, we can start with a blank slate and say, what are the things that are going to have the biggest impact to solve that cash flow issue? And yes?
So you have to input the data from past 1 year or 3 year or an average into this tool to get that basic standing at a given time, and
That's
then
right.
play around with these numbers?
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We
And
will
does-
enter between 1 and 4 years of data to get to
And
this.
this is something which is integrates with Xero, or
Yes.
it's a standalone?
Yep. Integrates with Xero, although Xero is not the only source of data. It can be entered in different ways and the different import measures. So we can look at this and say, this is not the answer here, but the first step is just to say, well, if we change all of these things by one, then which ones have the biggest impact? And so over here we can see the impact on cash flow and the impact on profitability. Some of them don't change profitability at all. Those are the ones that I mentioned before, that if your customers pay you faster, that doesn't change your profit, but it changes the amount of cash that you've got in the bank. So after we look at the ones and see which one of those has the biggest impact, we can then set a particular strategy around it. So let's go back to Xero. With the benefit of knowing this model, I know that the number of days that their customers take to pay them in this business is horrendous. So we should be able to make quite an impact on that particular number. So let's go straight to that one and say, and I think it's something like 69 days that it takes for their customers to pay. So let's say, well, surely we can improve that by at least 5 days through some active measures. So let's put that one in. And then behind this, we'll say, well, what are the strategies to improve customer payment days by 5 days? And it could be as simple as offering early settlement discounts, or it could be a better system for chasing the customers as well. Maybe no one's actually chasing them. Some fairly simple things should make a difference of 5 days. And there we suddenly have $90,000 improvement in cash flow. Now we might also say we're overdue for a price increase. So let's not be too aggressive, but we haven't done it for a while. We'll go up 3%, but because we're doing that, we might lose some customers as well. But we actually don't mind losing the ones that reject a 3% price increase. So let's say we're going to lose 2% of our volume because of that price increase. So those 3 measures alone, we've gone from 193,000 negative cash flow to 62,000 positive cash flow. And by the way, we've also increased our profitability by 160,000 through those price changes. That's a very simple example, but that's how we can work on solving those cash flow issues in particular and set the agenda, and that can dictate this is what we're going to do for the next 3 months. Let's focus on those 3 areas. We're not going to do too much because if we try to take on everything at once, we probably won't do any of it. But 2 or 3 measures at a time, 3 to 6 months, then we should make a difference.